We have 3 keynote speakers this morning, a lunch speaker, and speakers at 19 breakout sessions this morning and afternoon. Those speakers are from ESOP companies, employee-owned co-ops, economic development organizations, unions, government agencies, and service provider firms. This conference will be a success largely due to the programs that these folks will be presenting. And every one of them is a volunteer. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your involvement in making this conference a success. Thank you for all the speakers. And indeed, thank you for all of you. There are 384 people who had registered for the conference, and I've seen a couple people walking around with handwritten name tags, which means there are some walk-ins, as we say. And that's a wonderful turnout. But let me transition here. There's one person who is not here. And we would be very remiss if we did not pay tribute to all the things that John Logue has done for us and meant for us through the years. John was the founder and director of the Ohio Employee Ownership Center. He passed away this past December 9th from very aggressive stomach cancer. After John's death, the outpouring of emotions from people all over the globe was incredible. Over 250 people from all around the nation came to John's memorial service. Many sent email tributes or wrote their thoughts on the blog established by the Political Science Department at Kent State University. We've compiled all of those tributes into a notebook and intend on making, actually we already have made copies of the notebook to give to John's 3 daughters and to his wife Olga. In the back of the room, maybe you can see the video screen there with slides going through. There is a slideshow tribute to John. It has been compiled by Chris Cooper, and if Chris is in the room, thank you very much, Chris. If you get a chance, take about 2 minutes to stop and watch the slideshow. It's a good compendium of John Logue through the years. And if you so desire, please feel free to write a remembrance of your own in the remembrance book on the table. And as we did with the notebook, we'll make a copy of all of the entries in the remembrance book and provide them for John's daughters and his wife. The Political Science Department at Kent State has established the John Logue Memorial Employee Ownership Scholarship. This scholarship fund was set up to memorialize John's work in promoting economic democracy through employee ownership and to make higher education more accessible for KSU undergraduates who share an interest in John's work, broadly conceived. Ideally, the fund supports an undergraduate summer internship at an employee-owned company or some other organization focused on economic democracy. The fund has money to support 1 person a year, and we'd like to grow that fund to create additional opportunities. If you would like to contribute, please consult the instructions on the inside back cover of the program. Similarly, if you would like to contribute directly to the OEOC, there are instructions on the inside back cover of the program. And in late-breaking news, just yesterday, I received an email from the Association of Cooperative Educators, ACE. They have established a John Logue ACE Award to recognize an individual or organization whose educational programs, technical assistance, or research acts as a catalyst for change by creating innovative cooperatives that promote a democratic work environment and economic sustainability for the people and communities. This is more evidence of the reach and impact that John had on people and the respect in which he was held in the cooperative community. To put it mildly, John was an amazing person. He was an entrepreneur, never resting, and always excited about starting something new. He was an academic. You probably knew that he was an authority on employee ownership and employee-owned cooperatives. But you probably did not know that he co-authored several books and was considered as one of the authorities on Scandinavian politics. John was respected as a theoretician, but he was also practical. As David Beckwith said, he was a giant, a real doer in a world of talkers. John could communicate equally effectively in the boardroom and also on the shop floor. He had a very down-to-earth sense of humor. He was a nice and a gentle man. You could also say that he was nice to everyone. That's some words that we could all live by. He was a visionary. His thinking was at least 2 steps further down the road than most anyone else's. What was his vision? Well, he worked tirelessly to achieve his vision of economic democracy through employee ownership and strived to set up an economic model in which employee-owned companies dominated the economy. And on October 21st, 2009, John saw that visionary model take a giant step towards reality when the Evergreen Cooperative Laundry and Ohio Cooperative Solar Cooperatives had their grand opening ceremony in Cleveland, attended by a standing room only crowd of area dignitaries and leaders. The Evergreen Cooperatives are funded largely by the Cleveland Foundation and Shore Bank and are modeled on the Mondragon Cooperatives of Spain. And the Mondragon Cooperatives are employee-owned cooperatives that do dominate the economy of their region. The success of the Evergreen model has been noticed. We have received inquiries from several cities around the country and Canada with requests for information about implementing the Evergreen model in their cities. Isn't it nice for Ohio and Cleveland to be recognized as a leader for something good? John would be very pleased. To implement his vision, John developed the OEOC mission, a mission that I think has remained the same since the day the OEOC was founded back in 1987. That is to promote employee ownership in order to broaden capital ownership, deepen employee participation, retain jobs locally, increase living standards for working families and their communities in which they live. John would be appalled, though, at the amount of attention that we are paying to him today. That was not John at all. He did not seek attention. He wanted attention for his ideas, but not for himself. He would want us to proceed forward with the vision, and so we will. And moving forward, we would be remiss, though, if we did not heed some of John's lessons for us. If John were here today, he would have some words of wisdom for us all. First and foremost, one of his phrases that we heard frequently: hold the flag high, but keep your feet on the ground. Aim high, but if you don't take care of the fundamentals, you're not going to achieve your goals. Employee ownership creates assets for workers who otherwise would have less of them. And those additional assets are not offset by reductions in other pension plan contributions by employers. If employee-owned companies essentially create an ownership culture, and doing that by allowing employees to participate in business decision-making, delegating responsibility as low in the organization as you can, sharing information about business performance with employee owners, called open book management. Doesn't mean sharing payroll information, but other information. And training employee owners regarding the participation system and the understanding of financial statements. If you do those things, study after study shows that those companies systematically perform better than even employee-owned companies that don't do these things and conventionally owned companies. It is very simply a better way of doing business. Okay? Helps American companies succeed. The employees at those employee-owned companies have higher wages, much higher benefits. Actually, I need to modify that. The higher wages apply to everybody except for the person on the top. The CEO generally makes less at an employee-owned company than a non-employee-owned company. But everybody else has higher wages. Much higher benefits, significant wealth accumulation, and they are less likely to be laid off than employees at conventionally owned companies. And although I'm stating these things, there's research study after research study to back up these conclusions. Number 5, employee-owned companies benefit their communities as they are less likely to lay off in downturns. And we have just been through a downturn, and you companies have all dealt with it, and the fact that you're here today means that you've dealt with it successfully. Less likely to outsource or offshore work, and more likely to reinvest locally than conventionally owned companies are. Now, what does the media focus on with respect to ESOPs? Generally, it's the shutdown situation. Generally, it's the troubled company where an ESOP comes in to more or less save the day. But these are only 2 to 5% of ESOP transactions. They do tend to be larger companies. And some of these do survive, but ESOPs are not a magic button or a magic bullet that will instantly cure a situation at a company. So some of those companies do not survive, and they also get press that ESOPs don't work. See, the company failed. But remember, these were troubled companies to begin with, and conventional wisdom would have shut every single one of them, and they all would have failed. So the fact that some succeed is remarkable in its own right. Number 7, ESOP companies that are members of Ohio's employee-owned network tend to have more high-performance characteristics. Higher participation, communication, training, versus other companies in their industry. This is part of a research project that we are in process on, and preliminarily the research seems to show that those companies also are more profitable, but we can't quite conclude that yet. Facts about the OEOC. We've had a large impact on Ohio. We've worked with over 600 companies, almost 131,000 employees. Of those, 86 became employee-owned. Employee ownership isn't right for every single situation, and part of getting it right is to recognize where it is appropriate and do it, and recognize where it's not appropriate and don't do it. But 86 companies became employee-owned, creating about 14,600 jobs, or I should say new employee owners, and retaining or stabilizing their jobs. We have information on 64 of those companies with a little over 11,500 employee owners. Those folks have $344 million in equity. These are figures as of 2004, 2005, the most recent that we have available. And they would not have this equity otherwise. Also, annual payout to retirees, $6.4 million. Okay, not bad. In fact, pretty good. Number 9. Well, if ESOPs aren't created in shutdown situations, where are they created? About 70% of ESOPs are formed as part of the business owner succession planning process. The current statistics for successful successions are quite dismal. Depending on the study, anywhere from 15 to 35% success rate. To improve, what should business owners do? Prepare a succession plan. And if employee ownership is an option, in general, if there's more than 25 employees, then an ESOP can be justified. If there's less than 25 employees, the fact is that there's some administrative cost of ESOPs, and the employee-owned cooperative is a better alternative. But the fact remains that the lack of a business owner succession plan is the largest single controllable factor in job losses related to unsuccessful business transitions. This is a situation that hit home with us this year. We had to live through it. Fortunately, John practiced what he preached. We had a succession plan. And as part of that plan, I have assumed John's responsibilities at the OEOC. While no one can replace John, as he truly was one of a kind, and I hold no illusion that I can in any way, shape, or form be another John Logue, I can say that I share his passion for employee ownership. I lived it for over 15 years, working at an ESOP company and seeing what employee ownership could do for people on a personal, professional, and financial basis. And I can say that I'm committed to making sure that the OEOC successfully continues its mission long into the future. John had a management philosophy. Actually, he never wrote this down. I just kind of summarized it from his actions. Build a strong organization. Hire qualified people. Make sure they have the education and technical ability to do whatever job that you're hiring them for. Train them in the particulars of your organization. Give them the tools that they need to perform their job. Then delegate responsibility. Get out of the way and let them do their job. However, if they need assistance, be available and provide them with help. And along the line of having a strong staff, the OEOC is more than John, the OEOC is more than me, and I would like to introduce the OEOC staff members, people who are committed to going forward with John's vision with the objective of making that vision a reality. So if you would stand or wave your hand when I call your name. Jim Anderson. There he is, back there. Steve Clem, the other corner. Chris Cooper. We're going from corner to corner here, I see. Ashley Hernandez. We are going from corner to corner. Olga Klepikova. There's Olga. Olga is John's wife, by the way. Bill McIntyre would be me. Roy Messing. Roy's down here. Jay Simachek, all the way in back by the blue sign. Karen Thomas. Jackie Yates. There's Jackie. And there are 3 other staff members, and they can't be in this room right now as they're busy out at the registration desk. And I can assure you that this conference would not happen as smoothly as it will hopefully happen without their efforts. I want to thank them publicly. Please recognize Kelly Fitz, our office manager, Denise Hayward, and Pam Hayduck, our clerical assistants, and let's give them a round of applause that they can hear all the way out there. Our staff is very capable, qualified, and experienced. It includes 3 staff members with 10, 13, and almost 20 years of experience at the center developing and conducting training programs. It includes a former CEO, former CFO, and former general manager of ESOP companies, a former director of research at an international union, a former banker who focused on ESOP loans and also grew up on a farm and had vast exposure to cooperatives, an experienced professor and researcher, and a former community organizer. The next Barack Obama, who knows? We have varied backgrounds and capabilities, but we all share a commitment to employee ownership. And we all recognize that John's work must go on, our work must go on. So let's move forward with a vision, and let's begin the rest of the conference. John would be proud. Thank you.